these boots.
True.
Bam.
I was just thinking, it was like the epic characters.
Yeah.
Where
Mike pulled the fiat.
that
on
was
this
totally-
one. This
that
is
was
a
all Mike.
broken arrow, and I'm
Right.
stopping it right now.
well, that was the thing. I was like, I smelled where Mike was taking
Yes.
it.
Mark
Like
smelled that one out.
weeks ahead of time, and I was like plotting what I was going to do, and finally got the opportunity. Stole Baba Yaga's hut, left everybody else in the lurch, and didn't play. I sat there at the table for like at least 2 weeks while they played out the rest of the game.
I am impressed with that because that's what I would do.
Right.
I would sit there and watch everyone else go down with the ship.
Yeah, he would. He would. I've got an example, which I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard this story before. When I was in the Army, I ran a game. It was a D&D game, and it was set in the Dragonlance world. Ooh. And there was a Broken Arrow event where it was a TPK. And the character that I modeled my character after years later, named Mad Mordak, was played by a guy, a friend of ours that was in the military with us, named Eric Brown. And he played the best nutcase I've ever seen. And the characters all went down, except for the nutcase. And the nutcase took the Ring of Regeneration off of the guy, the one guy who could, like, the healer was wearing a Ring of Regeneration, because that was their thing, was give the Ring of Regeneration to the healer,
Right?
Yeah,
because if he goes, yeah, that's right. If everybody goes down, he can regenerate and he can heal everybody back up.
It's a great plan.
He took it off of his finger and put it on his own finger. And I have never seen a group of players on the verge of murder more than that point right there, because those guys were just, they were just crestfallen, and they were staring at him. And like I said, he played the best lunatic I've ever seen, and he was just cackling with laughter at the irony of it all. And they were like, "What are you gonna do?" You know, I mean, they were seriously. I mean, and Brown was a pretty big guy, so it wasn't like they were. You know, he wasn't physically intimidated by any of them, and he was just laughing at him and
Rich
laughing
in
at
on
him.
this one too.
Oh, man.
Yes, Rich played the Minotaur barbarian. Yeah.
That sounds like Rich.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
But yeah, it was a Broken Arrow moment, and it'll stand out as probably one of the best ones because of just the sheer.
That's a backstab and a half right there.
Yeah, because it came out of nowhere, because nobody really knew what his motivations were and what he was all about, because it was like
He was playing nutcase.
he was a complete nutcase, and you know, he would do complete random stuff like all the time. So it came out of complete left field. They were like, what are you gonna do, man?" And he was just like, "They're like, oh God,
I
here
don't
we
know.
go."
It sounds like maybe he was touched.
He was a little bit, but yeah, it was fantastic, because eventually, you know, he ended up, you know, not screwing over the group and stuff. But it was,
I'm kind of let down now.
yeah, I think it was one.
Everybody rolled all new
They
characters.
guilted him into
They
it.
guilted him into it. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just having some fun. So we could have a whole episode of dick moves, yes, but you know. But that was a good Broken Arrow moment, because as I recall, we never played that game again after that, because they were like, you know, let's play some Shadowrun. Incidentally, he played the greatest homeless person I've ever seen too.
Wow.
He was
my own facility.
He was a homeless decker, a troll decker who learned everything he knew about the Matrix from watching old reruns of Nova and from a department store window, and so he had no sound, so he had to figure it all out.
Master of
Homeless troll decker.
Yes,
Man, I was playing The Godfather for 360 last night, and I played the game before, but I'd never come across this particular encounter before, because it's not really an encounter. I had just done a mission at a police station. I come walking out of the police station, and I see a homeless guy with a peg leg tear ass across the street and start beating on this woman.
Interesting.
So I ran over there to stop it. I beat the crap out of the homeless guy. He had $5,500.
That's a bizarre.
Right.
Totally random.
Yeah, it was. That happens a lot in the game. It was like some random dude will just run up to a woman on the street and start beating the crap out of her. You go over there and you save her.
Interesting.
And then he'll usually have like $300 on him. Homeless guy dude had $5,500 on him.
He just rolled a liquor store or something. Anybody else have any good examples that you can think of?
We had one recently in the Sea Princess campaign. You had boarded the privateer to negotiate with them.
Right.
And then somehow he's initiated a fight, and the fight went bad, and a couple players went down,
they
and everyone else
initiating
fled.
the fight. They talked down to us, so we drew guns and started
right.
shooting at them.
Yes.
I was going to say most of the fights in the Sea Princes campaign have not ended well for us, the
Right.
players.
Right.
From
Those players-
day one.
That was the
I
first
have
time.
no problem with running away, though. None whatsoever. There's not a heroic bone in our bodies.
Running away is fine, but these characters actually got left behind.
We left some.
I was
We left
worried
behind
about
some
it.
wounded.
Yeah, and then they got marooned.
Yeah. Well, no, Sean got marooned. I went after my friend. It's, like, hey,
It's not
I dove in the water.
marooning. Yeah, it's not marooning if you voluntarily jump off the ship.
Right.
I've yet to get back to the ship yet.
Tonight,
We're
maybe.
about to.
We're gonna do
Tonight.
it.
All right, great.
So, but now, what about Broken Arrow for something more extreme, like a game group? I mean, we've not broken up as a game group, but we've seen things where people have left because of things, because some people run them out, or things like
Some
that.
people.
Some people named
Meaning Mark.
Right.
But I
Hey,
mean,
I know I am the button man for the group. Okay,
did you say butt man?
button
said
man.
butt.
Button man.
He
He said
said butt-
hitman.
He said
Yes,
Batman.
yes, but the problem with that, Mark, is you are self-appointed. you don't do these things by committee.
Dan, I understand that the rest of you guys are too nice to tell people where to get off. I take it upon myself
No, that's
to
called-
not be that guy.
That's just called being civil
Yes.
and polite.
Yes, you need him on that wall. You want him on that wall.
all you did was weaken a game group today.
I have the ultimate broken arrow,
Okay.
The ultimate Broken Arrow story. All right.
and all I have to do is say the name of the game. Twilight 2000.
That wasn't part of that.
Oh, you talking about
Never
the
played Twilight 2000.
Pete who died because he couldn't open his shoe?
No, this is even
No.
older than that.
I think it was
my.
just
It was just the
me
three-
and
it was-
Eric and Jason.
Yeah, it was just
This
the
is
three of us.
The only time we've ever actually had a funeral for a character and buried it
Yes.
in Eric's yard.
No dear.
Yeah, it was a scenario where they came. The players came across a active nuclear device. It was like a bomb that
Never a good thing.
Yeah,
In the middle of Poland.
yeah. So it was like, what are you going to do? All right, well, we're just going to jump in the Humvee and we're going to take off because this thing is going to blow.
Well, we had a tank, we had a truck, we had a car, we had all kinds of stuff.
Right.
We had a whole convoy. But only one of our characters had any skills
in nuclear weapon.
nuclear device, and that was
That was
Mike's character,
Jack
Jones.
Jack Jones, and he had a 5% in it.
which meant and what happened. And I think my character was the commanding officer.
Yeah.
And I gave the order for us to evacuate, and we stayed in radio communication with Jack. And Jack was going to wait until we were probably outside the blast radius at least.
Right.
And I think we made it like 30 miles.
Yeah.
And then he attempted to disarm the device, and
We never played that
which
again.
which
we
was
never played any.
probably the most heroic thing that I've ever seen one of Mike's
tell you.
characters ever do.
I tell
Possibly a story most closely related to the movie Broken Arrow.
It's true. We took that character, we burned the
character
sheet, put the ashes in a pill bottle, I think,
Yeah, an old
and then
pill bottle.
buried it in Eric's front yard, and had a funeral, like a military
Yes.
funeral.
Somewhere Taps was being played. Right?
About that episode of the community of nerds giving good nerds a bad name.
Yes.
When it comes to the Broken Arrow of a gaming group,
That's a hard thing to do.
it is. And I'll tell
Generally,
you
it means that friendships have
exactly.
been severed.
And I have an example.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I
And
think he's going to talk about me.
No. It's another Army story. Two of our members of our gaming group became enamored with the same girl.
That'll do it.
And it became, you're either my friend or you're his friend kind of thing. And it was, okay, well, for the sake of the group, one of you has to go. And that's ended up what happened. So that was, whenever you talk about real world stuff, getting involved, if you start talking about love interests or, just like, emotions, religions, political stuff, that's why those things aren't good for a group.
Right.
Because people have differences of opinion and things like that. It's okay to not like or not, care for somebody in the group, but when you really get personally despising what they have to say, then that's pretty bad. But that was the worst case of Broken Arrow for a group I've ever seen.
My first gaming group in high school fell apart when we were in college. For the longest time, it was me and Matt and this guy, Mark Monsinger. Mark Monsinger graduated after his junior year and joined the Navy. He'd come and play back whenever he was home. After we were done with junior college, Greg went off to McKendree. I went off to Webster University, and Matt stayed in junior college. And I think there was a little bit of jealousy that Greg and I were moving on with our lives, and he was still stuck at junior college with no real direction. And that gaming group kind of fell apart.
Yeah, that's a good example of, and that's a personal thing.
Right.
You know,
And I've seen Matt maybe 10 times in the ensuing decade and a half.
does he still game? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
So that's completely he's completely been
So we
turned
should
off of
totally
it.
call him and invite him on for Mondays.
Yeah.
Rekindle that flame.
We're cool when we see each other now. But, there were some definite Degrassi junior high moments going on.
I think
'Cause Matt was my best friend for a good couple of years.
I'm thinking of the day that I made the announcement that I needed to play myself for a while.
Right. Play yourself, not with yourself.
That's right. He still does that.
I think, I don't remember exactly when that was, but I do remember saying that. And I had a lot of stuff going on, and I was too caught up in the game.
Right.
And worrying about fictional fantasy fake stuff when I had real world stuff that was bothering me.
Right.
And I had forgotten that the purpose was for escape.
Right.
Yes.
And to enjoy yourself, and I wasn't enjoying it. So I stepped away for a while, and it wasn't that long. I mean, I'm sure it could have been more than.
Because you got jealous because Brian was leveling without you.
Well, no, I think Eric actually brought me back to the table. I think it was just a casual hanging out one day, and it was we're doing this and we're doing that, and it was just kind of like I think I'm ready to play again, and
Yeah, it's tough to step away from a game,
Especially when it's your routine. This has just kind of become what we do now.
Right.
So,
but sometimes when it becomes too routine, and you're not having fun, like you said, Jason, you either become too involved or it just becomes so, you're doing it by rote, and it's like, am I really having fun doing this anymore?
Right.
You brought up on, I think just this past Monday, that we've had Monday game for 11 years now.
Yeah, every week for 11 years.
Yeah.
And
is
that's
that out of habit as much as anything?
Because sometimes it does.
A lot of what
Sometimes
I
it
hear is
does.
like, you guys are not having any fun on your Monday game.
I'm not having any fun because there's a tick in my leg.
Well, it's just too big. It's just too big.
Well, it's still fun. It's just, by the time
It's a different kind of fun.
You kind of got to let Eric read through the fluff as fast as possible so you can get to the encounter, and then the encounter takes, it takes a good 20 minutes to get around the table.
right.
It's still fun hanging out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
just not
that's
fun role
that's
playing.
what's keeping the game together is
Yeah.
the fact that it's still fun to hang out with your friends. And
Is it 7 to
Jay,
11?
by the time Jay and I have both had our turn, we get
Yeah.
up, we go for a cigarette, we come back in time for our turn again.
right.
Well, it's good
Usually.
for you then.
Right.
But if it becomes a burden, something that you're just doing it because you've got nothing else going on or stuff like that, it might be time to say, hey, let's do something different. Yeah, it's time to break it up. 11 years is a long time for a game, and if it ever becomes a job for me, I'm gonna, I have no problem with saying, hey, let's not do this anymore. But and
Then he can come back up here on Monday nights.
whatever, yeah.
And that leaves me gaming with Greg and his wife.
Well, see, that is the problem down here. We got so many things that we want to get done, and we only have one night to do it in, Eric. So it'd really be better for us.
and I'm off on Mondays.
On Mondays. Just planting the
But
seed.
it's what's funny is when it gets to a point where I'm like, why am I doing this, or if am I really having fun doing this? Something happens that I go, this is why I'm doing this. And it almost like when I'm getting to that low, it picks me up. So it's not gotten to the point where it's a broken arrow for me personally. I know that there's guys that have left the game for various reasons. Work is usually the number one reason. When it's something like an institution like it's become, it's easy to come back into. Now, I couldn't imagine trying to start up a new game.
You think other people
Yeah.
who frequent the shop who don't play with you, it's kind of become this thing. It's that Monday night game that's just always been going on at the shop.
Right. It's like the perpetual
part
Monday
of the
night
shop
game.
now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess. I'm just thinking about, because the shop has actually changed locations since the
Right.
game started. And I'm just, going back in my head thinking about all the people who used to work there since the game has started.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. It's actually quite of an impressive thing to have a game that goes that long.
Yeah.
I think that in general, sometimes in games you have to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold.
You bastard.
Yeah. Kenny Rogers. Hello.
But it's actually apropos. You sometimes when you're in a game and it doesn't make any sense to continue, have the balls to say, hey, you know what? it doesn't make any sense for my character to continue this. It's all about your character development. I'm a completist, so I have this tendency to want to see everything through.
Yeah.
But if it does take a lot of guts to say, I'll sit and watch you guys play because my character's not going to be involved in this.
Not a few weeks ago when the first time we had our deviation from the regular pirate crew.
Yes.
And I ended up playing the